Hey, everybody. Fascinating discussion today as we talk about one of the biggest challenges in cybersecurity, configuration management, with an innovator in this space at SureStack. Adam, how are you?
Great. Thank you. How are you doing, Evan?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. Really intrigued by what you guys are up to. Maybe talk about your bio background and what led you to the mission at SureStack.
Sure. So I've been in cybersecurity has been my career and my passion for over 20 years. And I've done pretty much every job you can do from in cyber, from doing vulnerability assessments, pen tests, to security engineering, architecture, even responding to incidents, and even a CISO. And so, I've seen a lot of products come and go. I've seen a lot of hype in the market, a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt as well. And so, what led me to this was the desire to be able to create something that could scale and could have a real impact on the problem, right? So there's a defender's dilemma. We never have enough, people like myself. It's always easier to get in than it is to keep people out. And so a few years ago, we've had AI, for a while. I studied it even in college. But what's different, is obviously scaling up on the hardware side and the large language models and just a lot of new opportunity there. And so a few years ago, I had this idea to create SureStack to really ultimately try to through AI and automation and combining that with our experience in cybersecurity, to create something that could sort of rebalance the scale a little bit.
Fantastic. Well, important mission. And maybe start with an anecdote or real world story of how a small misconfiguration can lead to a big security risk.
Yeah. So I'll give you one that we saw recently. There was a penetration test that was done in an environment, a customer of ours, and this customer has their firewalls are being managed, their network devices are being managed by a managed security service provider. However, there was a well-known firewall brand device that was found to have a default admin SSH. It was never changed. So, as you know, it's game over. The attacker now has full control of this device, which means, especially with the capabilities of these systems today, they got full packet capture, on the network. They can do all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely not a piece of gear you want compromised. So, and again, this is being managed by a group that's their job, right? So they should have playbooks. They should have all these things. So we solve for that. So, we're going to find if there's amongst a whole bunch of other things, we're going to find if there's a default username and password there that could be owned. So that's just one. Got many others.
Great story. And it's SureStack.ai, and clearly your product uses AI. How does it kind of change the game compared to traditional tools and approaches you've seen over your 20 years?
Yeah. So, again, what we're doing, we have the concept, our patent, which is pending, as these things sit around, is based on a concept called resilient intelligence. So, what the heck is that? Well, it's basically, we are combining our years of expertise with standards and best practices and with the power of AI. So, for example, let's say we find a finding on a firewall. Maybe they've got a rule that's too wide open. You can hit their firewall management interface from anywhere, or go traverse the firewall. It's like too porous. We'll have these like quick wins, and the AI kind of generates that, and then you can pivot right to something called StackChat, which is our AI cyber assistant, and you can literally just click on that, and it'll tell you step by step. in terms that even like a junior person could understand exactly how to fix that vulnerability. And that will, and we do this quick wins thing because we want to focus the network defender's attention on where they can increase their score, the gamification there, and reduce their risk the quickest. And again, so the AI piece there is giving you, detailed remediation steps that make it really easy to follow. Also, StackChat, which is the AI assistant we have there, you can ask it all kinds of questions about your environment. Maybe a new person comes on board and, hey, what's our password policy? Or, or maybe troubleshooting. Maybe they try to push policy. I've actually done this myself. I try to push policy to a firewall, and I'm getting this error, and I'm like, I'm not seeing in the documentation, or I do a quick Google search, I don't see it. You can literally ask StackChat, and it knows because it has your exact configuration. It'll be able to tell you, because it's got all the vendor documentation and all that stuff. It'll be able to tell you how to fix that. And I was able to troubleshoot that much faster that way.
Fantastic. So you mentioned default username passwords. That's a clear blind spot. What are some other security blind spots you see companies overlooking, again and again?
Yeah. So definitely on firewalls, having rules that are too lax, like maybe, any service or any IP, or misconfiguring their management interface so that they could, someone is not restricting who can access the firewall. Well, at least from a management interface. Now, so there have been a lot of vulnerabilities in security products over the years, especially over the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years. They were never immune, but, there's been a lot of them. And so a firewall, for example, let's say you have a vulnerability in your firmware. Well, if you don't have the attack surface exposed, if you don't have that management interface exposed, there's no opportunity for the bad guy to exploit it. Well, but the problem is this happens over and over again. There were thousands of, I'm not going to pick on any particular brand, but there's some very well-known firewall brands which we integrate with. So you can narrow it down, which were owned because of misconfigurations. And this, and I know for a fact, this has impacted, it's not just small businesses and managed service providers, it's even enterprises. I know some large enterprises that had firewalls get compromised as a result of this. And so, you may have a perfect configuration today, but there's a concept of, human error and the concept of entropy. And it's just these, security products and technology in general, there's so many options and I call them knobs and twists. So many configuration options. Well, on one hand, that's power, right? Because the product company is giving you, the user of their product, they're giving you the power to configure something. The problem is, people don't really necessarily understand the complexity there. It's a balance, and so we can help with that. And again, we do it today. And then we do it every day. So it's a continuous thing, and the machine does it, right? It's automated.
Amazing. So we're also, of course, seeing attackers using AI too. I get phishing emails and texts that look really good. They're really well written. The graphics, the images are spot on, which is really scary. But what new risks do you see emerging from AI?
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, Evan, because AI is a double-edged sword in the security space, right? So, and I would say, if you ask me who's winning, we're not winning right now overall. It's the other side, because again, it was already easier to get in, and now, just like regular everyday people, the threat actors are using this technology to automate and to make their job easier and faster and more scalable. And I don't know if you read about this, but there was an attack this year where the attacker used a well-known AI platform to do, I want to say, like 90% of their actual, work. I mean, it even generated malware. Now, obviously, the guardrails, that's a huge issue. It's a cat and mouse game, but that's profound to me that they were able to go that far and, to be undiscovered for, a few months. But But yeah, it's definitely easier to do the work. But again, on the other side of things, with products like SureStack, we're trying to use the technology for good. And so I think the market is pretty large for AI and cyber and just in general, and it's only going to continue to grow for a couple of reasons. Again, like I mentioned, there'll never be enough people. If you ask me, is it going to put security professionals out of work? I don't think so. I think maybe if you're a tier 1 SOC analyst, you need to skill up and do some other things. But no, I think it's going to. That's what gets me excited. It's going to be able to be used for good, and it'll always be a cat and mouse game, and that's what motivates me, every day.
Oh, great mission. So, as you know, some large banks or enterprises will have dozens and dozens. I've seen one bank with 80 different tools,
Yeah.
Applications, et cetera. When they say, "Oh, we're already secure," I mean, how would you challenge that?
Yeah, and I think that our product actually is designed. We're not trying to sell you more security tools. We're trying to make what you have already. We're trying to optimize that, right? So we will make sure, number one, that you don't have misconfigurations and vulnerabilities ironically, in the tools that are supposed to protect you. We'll make sure that you're getting the best return on investment that you can from those tools. I'll give you another quick example. A few years ago, I was working on an incident, and when we got to the end of it, we did the forensics, the analysis, we did all this stuff. This organization had a pretty advanced endpoint product. What we found was there were 2 settings in that product that were not enabled, that had they been enabled would have stopped that attack cold.
Wow.
So that's an example of, okay, if you look at it, is that really a vulnerability? Well, yeah, because they're not taking advantage of something that they're already paying for. So for those banks and those organizations that are, say they're good, well, they're not. And I would say the more tools they have, exponentially, the more chances are that they're not getting the ROI out of them. And like those enterprises I mentioned earlier that were affected by those firewalls, the chances that there's human error and there's a problem there. So I actually think, our product really can help with that because, and again, here's the other thing. Let's say they're right. Today they're good. Okay. Hey, good job. Today you're good. Tomorrow you're not. You don't know. So it's change, right? So you need a system like SureStack to test that continuously, because these environments don't stay static, and the threats don't either.
Oh, such a great point. So, looking a couple years out, what's your vision of success? What are you excited about over the next year or two as you continue to grow and scale up?
So we're working with some managed service providers and some managed security service providers right now. I want to massively grow the number of partners that we have there, because we can help them do their job better, right? Especially, I'd say MSSPs and MSPs, both of them. MSPs have a different challenge than MSSPs, because MSSPs they're security focused. They're really trying to hone in on that. MSPs generally are more technology focused. They're trying to get in more in that space. But in any case, they're managing hundreds and sometimes thousands of devices and tools and a huge security stack. And so they have a lot of risk, right? Because it's not just, their own stuff, it's their customer stuff. And so we found for one partner, a case where, they had an outdated, like, end of life, firewall that was out there, a couple of them. And, at first, when you say that, you're like, oh gosh, how could they let that happen? Well, they're managing hundreds of devices and things. So, that's another thing. So I think, what does it look like? It's getting to be able to help a lot more of those organizations to do their job better. And also large enterprises and government. My partner, my co-founder, Austin and Hochstedler and I, we have a lot of government background. The mission is great. And we have a lot of understanding there. They have these challenges too. Large enterprises have these challenges. So it's really just expanding the impact that we can, that we can help these folks to rebalance the scale through automation and AI in our platform. There's some other exciting, like roadmap things that we're excited about that, I think will really in sort of some automation and self-healing type capabilities that are really, really cool.
Can't wait to see it. So you're in Northern Virginia, kind of ground zero for a lot of what's happening on the security side, policy side. Where can people meet you, see you? What are you looking forward to? Any meetups, get-togethers, otherwise the next couple months?
There's a few entrepreneur meetups in DC, and we're going to go to. There's I think November 19th. There's a show. I think Orange Slices AI. We did another. They had a lot of government folks there as well as industry. We did a show in, I think, May or June in Maryland. We're doing another one at the Guinness Brewery in Maryland. So any excuse to have a pint and talk cyber, it's good. So
sounds good.
And
well,
I
look,
think we might. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I say I really appreciate what you guys have done and are doing, and here's to more success.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Evan.
And thanks for joining, and thanks everyone for listening, watching. Also, check out the new TV show on Fox Business and Bloomberg, techimpact.tv. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.